that ISIS is not just regionalized like the administration says, only in Iraq and Syria, but rather demonstrating it's a global threat, that they can't conduct external operations. This is a new generation of terrorists using the internet in a very savvy way to attack the West and also get into homes and in the basements in the United States to radicalize individuals and call them up as sleeper cells to attack Americans.
And joining us now is Ryan Mauro, National Security Analyst, Clarion Project, clarionproject.org. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Always my pleasure. Good to talk to you again. All right, so much to get to. First of all, the administration admitted today, just as a sidebar here, that they have trained 60 Syrian fighters to go fight ISIS at a cost of, what is it, $5 billion?
$100 million.
$100 million. Whatever. What is going on?
Well, I mean, you need some forces on the ground in order to fight ISIS in Syria. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. But I'm not even convinced that of those 60, that they're necessarily all good guys. Because in the past, the groups that we've worked with have had ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, ties to countries that don't really like us very much anymore, like Turkey and Qatar. So I think the vetting process is a mess, not just in terms of quantity, but also in terms of quality. I'm not convinced we're picking the right guys here.
All right. Well, I wouldn't be surprised either. Let's talk about these polls. There are two polls out. One shows global support for ISIS includes up to 42 million Muslims, obviously around the world. And then there's that Clarion Project report, and let's start with that. Not report, but also a poll that shows that support for Sharia among American Muslims in this country is well over 50%, and 25% have no problem with violence against Americans. And those are American Muslims.
Right. The 25% statistic that came from the Center for Security Policy poll is the most frightening one to me, because what I find when I talk to a lot of Muslim Americans, Sharia means different things. So some of them are talking about settling their disputes amongst each other with an imam. Some of them are talking about Sharia law as a form of governance. Others are talking about religious practice. But there's no way that you can spin or massage the question about how engaging in violence against those that criticize your religion. That's a frightening statistic. The Clarion Project report, we took 4 different polls about the support for ISIS in the Arab world, and we wanted to get some numbers. And what we found is that although a very tiny minority supports ISIS, if you take those numbers, because the Arab world is so big, you get about 22 million people who are fully positively towards ISIS. You ask them their opinion, we're positive. If you include those that are somewhat positive, I mean, how are you somewhat positive to ISIS? Then it grows to about 42 million people.
That is, that flies in the face of everything that we're taught, that we're fed, whether it's by this administration here in the United States or by the media, that it's a small little percentage, and if only, and Obama said it just yesterday, we can't beat ISIS with guns, we can't defeat an ideology with guns, you got to basically get these people jobs and stuff. So, I mean, it just makes that look all the more foolish, and not only foolish, dangerous, that we are not openly talking about this. I haven't seen these numbers or these polls talked about in the mainstream media at all, because they couldn't care less.
It's because everyone's fixated on the fact that, according to these polls, you're getting something like 6-7% of people that support ISIS in the Arab world, and then those that are partially supportive of ISIS, it grows to about 11-12%. And so then people dismiss it, but they don't realize the size that we're talking about. When you're covering hundreds of millions of people, those numbers add up. And so ISIS doesn't need to be popular. They just need to activate those that are currently radical to actually go and get a gun, and they can have conceivably millions of people fighting by their side. So it's a very big threat. And I think President Obama's right that there has to be a counter-ideological strategy, but that only wins when you beat them on the battlefield. That's why ISIS gets so much support, is because they take on the mighty United States, and then when they survive, they say, well, that's proof that Allah is blessing us.
Absolutely. And Ryan, such important work, and the Clarion Project is so very important as well. clarionproject.org. Thank you very much. We'll speak to you again, sir.
Thank you.